Chapter 9, Complex Cognitive Processes. So in this chapter, we're going to be looking at conceptual understanding and what concepts are and what concepts are not, and how to promote concept formation. Then we're going to be looking at thinking, problem solving, and transfer. So in part 1, I will get through conceptual understanding and hopefully thinking, but we'll see how far we get. So at the end of this lesson, students will be able to discuss conceptual understanding and teaching concepts, describe several types of thinking and ways teachers can foster them, demonstrate a systematic approach to problem solving, and define transfer and explain how to enhance it as a teacher. We have this introduction, connecting with teachers. These are always kind of good to read just sort of as an intro into the topic of that day, or of the chapter, I should say. So that one is about Marilyn Weary. You can give that a quick read. It's about her teaching students to think deeply, right? To think as deeply as be able to connect ideas, how to dive into topics and concepts deeply and create better thinking, right? Better ways of thinking about things rather than just skimming over the top. When you create good concepts, deep concepts, intricate concepts, then students are able to use them like building blocks to do different things. And we are going to get to that. So what are concepts? You are all in second or third year university, so already you have amazing concept formation. You probably don't remember creating the building blocks from the very beginning, but at this time concepts probably seem pretty simple and straightforward. But you did learn it a long time ago, and you have to start somewhere. So this chapter is about, well, this section talks about how to help young students create concepts that have a lot of detail, like strong concepts that they can use in order to think more complex later. So concepts are categories that group objects, events, and characteristics on the basis of common properties. So there are simple concepts such as chair and gym and phone and water bottle. But then there's more complex concepts such as, well, baby's an easy one, right? But young is a relative term. So it is more complex, right? You can argue about what one person sees as young versus another person sees as young. So as I said, concepts have like strong concept formation have many benefits, things that it helps us do. For example, helping with remembering and encoding things more efficient. If I say, there's a Honda in the parking lot, right? You can remember that. That's very straightforward. I don't need to go into the details of what a Honda is. I don't need to go into the details of what a parking lot is. You know the location of the parking lot, right? So all of these concepts, they help with remembering. It helps communication, make that faster, because I don't have to explain what everything is every single time. So it simplifies information, it summarizes information, and it makes memory and communication much faster. Students form concepts through direct experiences with objects and events in the world. So they form concepts like very young by watching TV, experiences, on field trips in their life, just whatever it is that they're doing. And then also form concepts through experience with symbols, like things that stand for or represent something else. Like math symbols or graphs, pictures that they see in the world or on social media or anything. So the concepts are formed through experience mainly. Okay, so a lot of that's going to have to do with what experience you give them as teachers, right? So let's look at promoting concept formation. So how can you as a teacher help young students, or any students, but young students build very effective concepts? So if you think of like your computer or Google Drive, and my Google Drive is absolutely enormous right now, but it is so organized based on concepts that I can find anything at any time. Well, mostly anything at any time, right? So that's a little bit about how we're kind of getting into that here. So for example, a concept map for reptile. So it's like a filing system. You've got reptiles as your main file, or whatever your main folder is on your Google Drive, right? Then you can have subfolders, which include characteristics of reptiles. So they're egg-laying vertebrae, external covering the scales of a horny plates, breathes by means of lungs. So these are different characteristics that all reptiles have. Non-dinosaur reptiles, is also useful to have examples of things that make it not a reptile, or things that might look like reptiles but they're not, right? So non-dinosaur reptilians is here. Then you've got dinosaurs, and you can do, again, subcategories, subcategories. So what you're doing is helping students learn how to do this. Okay, so let's go back up here. So starting at the beginning is first learning about the key features and attributes of concepts. So teaching students, usually through activities or fun games, what are the key features or attributes or characteristics of something? Like, let them come up with something. In the book, they've got the example of a book, right? So you teach them how to break it down. So all books have sheets of paper. All books have sheets of paper that are bound together along one edge. Other characteristics of books: contains information, contains words, contains pictures. Other characteristics such as size, color, and length are not key features that define the concept of book, because those can all be different, right? So teaching students how to take an object and break it down into its key features and attributes that define it as part of a category. So defining concept and providing examples. The rule example strategy, okay? The rule example strategy. So the strategy consists of 4 basic steps. First is defining the concept, right? So, sorry, I lost my spot. So the rule example strategy, is basically this. This is what you're creating, okay? So the first thing you're going to do is define the concept. Pick any concept and define it, what it is and what it is not. And then the second part, clarify the terms in the definition. Okay, so once you have all the terms and what defines that concept, you talk about each of those in depth so that everybody really understands exactly what that means, and they can actually, have a mental image of what that means. So deep understanding about that. Third step, give examples to illustrate the key features or characteristics. Then you want to give, examples of that. So in this example was different types of dinosaurs, right? Then you can break it down even further and include the non-examples. And then fourth, provide additional examples. So what you're doing is you're starting at the base of reptiles, and then you're thinking more and more deeply, right? What it is not, and then go even more deeper. And then you talk about attributes and different types, and just get deep, deep, deep into that concept of dinosaur, so that there's a thorough understanding. Hierarchical categorization and concept maps. That's basically showing students how to create one of those for different, for different concepts. Hypothesis testing. This is a fun one, which is why I have this picture here. If you've ever played the game Guess Who. So in Guess Who or in hypothesis testing, so I would pick one person here, and then you would need to ask me questions, which is your hypothesis. So you'd ask me, do they have brown hair? So that's the concept of brown hair. And if I say yes, then that falls within that concept. And if I say no, then you're going to eliminate brown hair from that concept. So that is your hypothesis testing. And you can do this. They have an example here doing it with the circles and the triangles or whatnot. But there's more fun games you can use like this. Yeah, so that's hypothesis testing. And then prototype matching is somewhat similar. Basically, students have to decide whether an item is a member of a category by comparing it with the most typical item on that category. And then the more like it is, then that category. So prototype matching. So for example, they're talking about a football player in here. Or you can use the bird one there. So if they show a picture of a penguin, it's like, okay, so it looks like a bird. It's got a beak. It's got the wings. So it's going to go in the same concept as bird, but it's not exactly like a bird. So how close to is it like being like a bird? Okay, so it's matching prototypes with other concepts that are in that category. They also give the example of a football player in here. Football player is, I think of huge, muscular, 6 feet tall helmet. I don't know. Okay. But they talk about here, where's that? What's that position that they're talking about? The field goal kicker. You guys are laughing if you know football, and I don't. I don't know football. Anyways, so some of the players are smaller, right? So if you were thinking of that, like small, thin, fast, I wouldn't be thinking football, but they are a football player. So it's about considering and discussing the parameters of what's within that concept and how close it is to the main concept, and that things can still be in that concept even though they're not exactly like that, right? So you can see how by discussing these things, you're able to talk more deeply about things, how you're able to compare one thing to another and how they differ. Yeah, so it's like brain training, right? These early stages, and you're developing skills that they can use going forward. Promoting concept formation. So there's 8 strategies here that you can use as teachers. Some of them are we've discussed already. Like use the rule, example, strategy, help students learn what a concept is and is not. You can do that with different activities and make it fun, right? Provide clear, concrete examples. Relate new concepts to already known concepts. So like we said, we were talking about the concept of a bird. Once you've narrowed down, say, a robin, that's a typical bird. Okay, so once you've discussed this in great detail, you can throw the picture of this guy in there. Okay, that is also a bird. And you can talk about that. Okay, this is the primary concept of bird right here. That might be at the top of your concept map. But this ostrich would also be on there. He or she or they would be in a subcategory. Okay, provide clear, concrete examples. Relate new concepts to already known concepts. Create concepts maps. This is a great way to learn about concepts. I remember doing this in, grade 5 geography. So you had to put the topic of your project in the middle, and then you had to put the lines out and have your subcategories. What are the subcategories of things you're going to be talking about that country? And then we had to create subcategories after that of the different, anyways. So creating concept maps and helping them learn how to organize information that way. Generate hypotheses about concepts. You can play games such as Who's This or other. There's tons of games that you can play. Match prototype. Another game you can play, and check for students' understanding of a concept and motivate them to apply the concepts to other contexts. So really digging deep into learning about concepts in a deep way. There's lots of, like I said, there's lots of games that you can play, activities that you can do. There are tons of different apps on the computer that you can use. And apps on the computer are, I mean, obviously always fun, and they're going to have some really challenging concept maps there. But it's also good sometimes, you can print this stuff out on cards and laminate it and have students moving around the classroom. They don't need to be sitting in their desk all the time, in their chair all the time, right? So you can take the concepts, you can put them in different corners of the classroom, you can have the students moving around the room using their hands and sticking it up on the wall and moving it from this category to this category. There's lots of very active ways that you can do that. Okay, so that was conceptual understanding. Ooh, we are at 15 minutes. I'm going to stop here because the next section I think is going to be a little bit longer, and I need to get to your class right now. Anyways, so I will see you in the next video.